Alrighty, we are back, and we're going to be talking about all things Kamfa today. F1 Kamfa, F2 Kamfa, 0.5 Kamfa. What does that mean? How does that look? Why do some Kamfas look like this? Why do some Kamfas look like this? Why, what happened to the original classic Kamfa look? Where is the high purling? Where does that come from if it's just Veha Flowerhorn? Like, what is going on with Kamfa, right? That's what we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and dive straight into it. I did have a little bit of this written down and realized I probably should be recording. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. So Flowerhorn to Veha, Flowerhorn to Veha equals F1 Kamfa. Woo! Their fertility rate's bad. It's 50-50. If you take F1 to Flowerhorn, that's going to be your F2. So Flowerhorn, F1, F2, 25-75. Fertility for males is still going to be bad, right? F2 to Flowerhorn is going to be F3, and this is going to be about 12.5% Veha or Veha hybrid, and 87.5% Flowerhorn. This is the golden generation for breeding. This one, never like the golden generation. It's good to sell females. Like, hey, here's like a female to kind of like push a project. Most people don't know what they're doing with them. F2. If you get a nice male, this is the competition range. Like if you're trying to do Kamfa competitions, F2, F3 male, that's the Kamfa competition. Like if you want like a really good Kamfa, that's the generation. Issue with the F2 males is they're obviously not going to have the best fertility rate, like very low. F3 males, this chance for fertility, I wouldn't say it's above 50%, but say it's 30, let's say it's 20%. 2 out of 10 fry are fertile for males, right? You get 50 fry, half of them are males, so you have 25 males, and only 2 out of 10 of them. You have 25, that means there's about 2 out of 10. There's 2 in the first 10. There's 4 by the time you get 20, and there's probably about 1 more, so you have 4 to 5 fertile males out of 25. Not the best odds, but honestly not the worst. And then F4 Kamfa is just a sales tactic at this point. Obviously, you see F4 equals Flowerhorn here. And the reason we say that is because it's already 93.75% Flowerhorn, give or take. Usually it's a little bit higher. By the statistics, it should be right about this range. But at this point, it's just a sales tactic. If you're like, I have an F4 Kamfa, blah, 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 blah. You got a Flowerhorn, bud. I don't care. I mean, F3 is where you want it. If you're breeding Kamfa and you're like, I have an F3 fertile Kamfa male, you'd be like, okay, that's where you want to be at, because you have the F3, you have 12.5%, and you can bring it back to Veha. And obviously this divides down to 6, so you're only getting 6% realignment, whereas if you breed an F4 back to Veha or any of these, you're only getting a max of like 3.125 or something like that. Realignment, it's not the best, right? Coughing. So the other side of Kamfa, what makes Kamfas a little confusing is you also see the 0.5 Kamfas, right? So 0.5 is literally the F2 if you take it back to Veha. So F1, F2, F3, F4 is F1 taken to Flowerhorn. F0.5, F0.25, and F0.125 is F1 taken back to Veha and then taken down, right? So each of them is a generation. So F 0.5, that's going to be the 50-50, or no, this is the 75-25. Then you've got 0.25, this is going to be 87.5 divided by, or dash 12.5, and then you have the 0.125 Kamfa, which is 93-6, right? Most people will just label this as Veha hybrid at that point. Now, why would they do that? Because it basically is just at that point. The Flowerhorn's not going to be doing a ton. You might get a little bit of a pearl structure or a color change or a little bit of a shape structure, but the majority of it's going to be Veha. So 0.5, like what's the point of going backwards? The 0.5 has a better fertility rate than F2. The 75% Veha is just better at being fertile. This gives you kind of the same rate as an F3 Kamfa. So semi for males, right? What what can you do with that information? If you're building a Kamfa line, you could technically breed to F3 Kamfa and then take your F3 fertile male that you find and take it back to like a 0.5 female that has a higher percent Veha. And if you took, 87 to 0.5, you're looking at, let's see, 87.5, let's see, equals 87.5 plus 25, all divided by 2, equals 56.25. So your hybrid would be 56.25% Flowerhorn, and it would be like 43.75% Veha, which 56, 50% Flowerhorn here, and 75% flower. You're about back at F1 with a higher notch of Flowerhorn. So probably like F1.5. That's where you see those 0.5s and crap. Hate that crap so much. But in this generation, you'd have alignment of the Flowerhorn used and the Veha used as long as you're taking it both ways. Obviously, with 56, 43, you're probably looking at similar fertility as F1 and probably not any fertile males in F2, but you could take it back to your F3 male again, get it kind of a little bit more than F2 has, and you might get a fertile male. I'm not going to guarantee it. And you have a fertile females in this mix, and you can either take that fertile female back to an F0.5. You kind of pop back and forth trying to find that perfect balance of your Veha hybrid and your Flowerhorn. You're trying to get that perfect mix, that perfect balance. The F0.125s, obviously, Veha hybrids, and F4s are just Flowerhorns at that point. If you see an F5 Kamfa, call that bullshit out. I mean, that's just trying to rip off somebody. So now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the Kamfa types, right? Obviously, there's these Kamfas, and, that's cute. I like that one. I like this one. I like that one. They're cute. My favorite is the King Kamfa, the original King Kamfas. Now you're like, Jackson, that doesn't look a ton like a Kamfa. This is like what the original Kamfas look like. They're super pearly. They had the complex pearl structures on their fins. I'm a freaking fan for it. This one has the complex pearl structures. This one has the complex fin structures. That one has a semi. This one has a mediocre. This one has a decent. And that one's pretty good. That one's beautiful. Like, this is stunning. And then, obviously, stunning. This one looks... Ooh, 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 ooh. I like it. I like it. I like those. Those are great. Now, you're like, well, where did that come from? What trait did that come from? That doesn't look like a Veha trait. That looks like it probably came from Parachromis. There's Parachromis and the older Kamfas. When I say Parachromis, I mean like Jaguar, Dovii, Fredicella, RTM, Lucellii, Parachromis. And when I'm saying these, I'm saying Jaguar. So, let me show you. Do you see the correlation between the shapes and pattern? Let me see. I want to move this one over because I have another thing hidden from you guys. And it's right here. Ooh! Another Kamfa mix. Or another Kamfa. And what do you see? I see Jaguar traits. Go. And the white purling, silver purling, technically, because it's not a fader, just got nice red skin. It's got the Jaguar traits here. It's got a little bit of the Jaguar traits on the lateral line. This face tells me a little bit, but the silver pearls are from the Jaguar, right? Silver purling, silver purling, silver purling. Beautiful. If you can get that perfect, amazing. Now, like, okay, Jackson, I don't want to breed a Jaguar to my Flowerhorn because, I don't want to go through all the loops of getting rid of the jaw and X, Y, and Z, but I do like the fin structures and I like the pearls, but I don't want to deal with the jaw. Okay. And then, before I hop into that, here is a Malaysian Flowerhorn or Kamfa from about 20 years ago, and it's got a ton of Jaguar traits in it as well. This obviously has a little bit more Amphilophus as the older ones did, but it still has a ton of Jaguar traits in it. But let's go ahead and talk about, Jaguar into Veha into, Flowerhorn stuff. So on the left here, this guy, he is 50% Jaguar. Ooh, I hate that crap. Okay, we got 50% Jag. And 50% Sin Hybrid. So this guy is 50-50. Great pearls all over him. Already white. Has amazing network on the fins. The face is really not that bad. If this was taken into Flowerhorn, it'd produce some amazing, kind of classic looking Kamfas. I mean, not maybe this in F1, but this is the start. This is where you start at. Now you're like, well, I really like the one to the left, the right of it, right? So you're like, okay, let's talk about the one on the right of it. This is 50% Jaguar. It's 25% Carpentis. And it is 12.5% Bridori. I'm going to try to spell that. And then it is 12.5% Biffa. Well, that's technically 50, 25, 25 for 50% Parachromis, 25% Hercules, and 25% Veha. This would produce really nice F1 Kamfas, and it'd produce nice F2. I mean, if I was to breed either of these, I'd choose this one over that one. I do like this one's kind of base color and base fins better, but I do like this one's coverage more, right? Which if you look at the nicer Kamfas, they usually try to get the full facial coverage, right? So I'd probably pick this one. Like, well, I don't like either of those. I want more Veha. Let's go and talk about more Veha. Ooh, here we go. We got 3 siblings. This is their daddy. So we go ahead and take this. Bring it on down here. I gotta adjust this cell. These ones are 50%. Oh man, I hate doing that. 50% Sin Hybrid. 25% Jag, 12.5% Carp, 6.25% Bridori, and 6.25% Biffa, right? Let's just look at these 3 different siblings. This one's pretty cute. Nice fins, thick. This would probably be a nice one to like silk, like a thigh silk. This one's amazing facial structure, also amazing facial structure. This one's got beautiful fin purlings. This one's also got beautiful fin purlings. This one's more of like a darker skin color with a yellow, maybe a little bit of red right here. Lighter, more yellow, more of an orange red. Both of those taken to a Flowerhorn would produce really nice F1 Kamfa. So like, oh, Jackson, well, I don't know what I want to do for Kamfa. I think if you're going to be breeding Kamfa, you should add a little bit of Parachromis into it. The older super pearly lines had Parachromis in it. If you're not, breed the nicest Vehas you can find. I mean, if you're breeding, Sin and stuff, not the worst you can do. It's the classic for hybrids. Super Red Sin, you can always breed for a Kamfa. If it was me, personally, I would probably do Bridori. Now, is it going to give me the color I want? Let me see. It's probably not going to give me the color, but it's going to give me a lot of the shape I'm after. The other thing I'd probably use is the Biffa. I love Biffa. You guys know I do. Okay, one second. There we go. Images. You guys know I love a good Biffa. I prefer them over Sins. So if you're getting into a Kamfa project, I would think really, really, really figure out exact what traits you want. If you want it to be more Flowerhorn, which is most people, you're going to want to go down this line. But within this line, this is the golden generation for breeding. This is basically just Flowerhorn at this point, and this is for competitions, right? This right here and this right here are both golden for breeding back to this, but getting more Veha or Veha hybrid included. So if you're wanting more of like, you're like, well, by F3, it's really just Flowerhorn, and I wanted, no lateral line, and a lot of the other traits where they fade over time is going to be, when I say fade, like fade away, it's going to be from Veha, so you're going to want to increase it. So you're going to want to do this. If it was me, personally, what would I do? Because this is like a legitimate question. If it was me, I'd probably get a nice Flowerhorn, ZZ, gold base, something clean with a good structure to it already. And I'd be looking for something with full facial purling. I don't like bald marks on my Flowerhorns, right? Let's just look at them. If I was to pick one out, what would I pick? And I'm not going to pick something crazy that you guys can't get. I'm going to pick something basic, like a Super Red Dragon. Like, this is a nice little gold base. These are nice. This is Indo CC. If you guys could get an Indo CC, it would be my favorite. These are my favorite type of Flowerhorns when they're done well. Like, oh my word. Let me bring it over. Oh my god. If I was to work with Flowerhorns, heavy Indo Sinsao genetics is what I'd be working with. And that would probably be my favorite one to work into a Kamfa project. But in reality, most of you guys aren't probably going to spend the money for a Sinsao. You'll probably end up getting a Super Red Dragon or a Zinzao. Zinzao. Oh my god, I'm gonna have a stroke. Okay, so let's go look up Super Red Dragon. Which is going to be like the most basic Flowerhorn that you can get basically anywhere. And obviously there's different levels of quality here. You got one with a nice nunchal hump. You've got one with, I think, too big of a nunchal hump. You've got this one. That would be nice. That's an older style. This one's kind of more Trimac. This one's better purling. I would look for one with good purling. Because again, you're line breeding, you're back breeding. You're not just crossing F1 to Flowerhorn, F2 to a different Flowerhorn, F3, and jumping around. You're looking for realignment, and you're looking for good traits, right? So, looking at these, I would probably go with, don't like that one. Where is the one I thought I was going to go with? This one's nice. This one wouldn't be a bad start to a line. My only hesitation, I don't like the paperback as much, but this one's got really nice pearl structures, really nice color for the most part, and that intricate design I like on the tail fin, which, let's go look at something real quick. Nah, I can't get to it. That's fine. So let's say we're using this guy, right? We're not using that guy. I wish we were using the guy. We're using this guy. Before I would even start my Kamfa project, I would create a Veha hybrid with some Jaguar. I would probably shoot for 25% Jaguar. Now the 50%, I do like this, but I would obviously be wanting more of the Veha traits to pop out. So for my Jaguar hybrid that I would want, let's just say I used one of these. In reality, I would probably want Bridori, Biffa, Jag, and I'd probably do Jag to Bridori, then F1 back to Biffa, or Jag, Bridori to Biffa, Carpentis, and do those together. So it's 50% Veha, 25% Jag, 25% Carpentis, and it's 25, 25, 25, 25. That'd probably also be a decent mix. If I was in Australia, a lot of you guys Hartwigii are Fenestratus mix. Your black belts are your Sins are decent. I would probably do Zon to Jaguar, Zon to Carpentis, and then both F1s back together. So it's 50% Zon, 25% Carpentis, and 25% Jaguar for that boost in purling and structure. Obviously, that Zon's not going to give you a ton of color genes, but it is going to give you more of a flatter face to kind of dink around and like make a more pearly Flowerhorn, right? So now, if I had my F1s and F2s and whatnot, I have my Veha hybrid, which if I'm in the US, you got my US one. If I'm in AUS, you have my AUS one. And the reason I'm only saying AUS and US is we have different markets, we have different availability of what we can get. So I do Flowerhorn X. Let's see. Let me see what's something real quick. Man, take that. Okay. So I would take Flowerhorn X F1 gets me F2, which is equal to 50. Well, frick. I take it to my Veha hybrid, right? VH for Veha hybrid. That gives me F1, which is 50-50. Now, because I bred my Veha hybrid at home before everything started, I have males and females, which gives me 2 different routes to go. So off my first route, I would take F1X Veha hybrid. That gives me... How do I want to do this? I'm going to do it like this. And would take F1X Flowerhorn. Right? So this gives me 0.5. And that's 75-25. And this is F2. And this is 25-75, right? I would then leave this one here for the most part. I probably wouldn't touch it. I would take F2X Flowerhorn, which gives me 12.5 slash 87.5% Flowerhorn. And that gives me my F3, right? Which F3, I would probably take F3X 0.5. And that would give me, let's see, this is equal to 75 plus 12.5 divided by 2, 43.7. So it gives me 43.75% Veha, and that would be about 56.25% Flowerhorn. And then I would take, and I would just call that one F1 again, honestly, at that point. New, we'll say new F1. And I would do F3X new F1. And I'd probably also do 0.5 male X new F1. And then I would breed this back, so it'd be F3X new F2. I would then test fertility and see if I can get it. That would be new F3, right? And then I would breed these two back, see if I can get a 0.5 new 0.5 fertile. And I would repeat this loop again. And I just kind of do 1 cross back, 2 crosses on the other side, and keep trying to get those realignment of those traits. Within this, you're selectively breeding. Say at some point you're like, well, I don't really like the Flowerhorn I used originally. When you breed your new F1 or your new F1 Gen 2 or new F1 Gen 3, and you're like, I want more different Flowerhorn genetic, add it in on that side, and then keep your 0.5 clean with your original Veha hybrid stuff. And if eventually, you find a sibling or a cousin or descendant of a niece or a nephew of your Veha hybrid line that you sold, and you're like, I want that back into my line, go get that and add it back. Like, there's obviously, it's not a one fits all. It's going to be kind of a here or there, and you're going to be able to work back and forth on it, and that's going to be able to allow you to make something that other people don't have, right? Because there's been a lot of really cool Flowerhorns in the past. And I feel like a lot of the time nowadays, we kind of just see these and a lot of the classic Kamfa look where they're not very unique. And I would love to see if you Flowerhorn breeders are able to make some really cool stuff. I mean, I feel like Jaguar hasn't really been put a ton back into Flowerhorn recently. Dovia used to be used in more, and I could easily go into like if you're like, I want to know what more Parachromis is going to do to my Flowerhorn, I want to know what, I can easily make a video on that. Just go ahead and comment and let me know. What else? I think that's it, honestly. I don't think that is 25 minutes of Kamfa talk. Not too much. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is at Ben's Creation. Let me go ahead and just delete that. My Instagram is Ben's Creation on Insta. Okay, what the freaking heck? What the heck? If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram's Ben's Creations. If you follow me from Facebook, it's just going to be Jackson Benz, Jaxson. And then I am obviously on YouTube. So if you're already having me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe if you're watching my videos. It does help me out personally. I'm not making any money off of it yet, but I've got a lot more videos to come out with, a lot more information to cover. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and comment something like, hey, I want to see more of Flowerhorn Jaguar, Flowerhorn Dovii. I would kind of, if maybe I went over something like this a little too fast, be like, hey, I need more clarification on how the loop works, or I need more clarification on the Parachromis effects in it, or what that Malaysian breeder, I will break down more stuff. Or you're like, maybe I want to see more Kamfa X breeds, because I can easily find more Kamfa X breeds, because I'm pretty sure if I searched up Kamfa Cuban, there's examples of that. Yeah, Kamfa Cuban, and I've got a bunch of them on my site as well. And we could easily take a dive on that. I just need to know what you guys are wanting to see. Otherwise, I'm just kind of pulling out stuff that, I kind of talk with my friends, and kind of what I've been talking with people I'm like mentoring. And I'm like, I could use this as a video and give it to them so they can watch it. Kind of not ask me the same thing over and over and over again. But, comment, subscribe. It does help me out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video today.